Hello. Thanks for joining me for the third episode of the Land Institute's Perennial Practice video series. I'm Aubrey Streit Krug. After meeting the perennials in the prairie and perceiving diverse patterns in the research plot, today we've come inside to the Land Institute's main research building. We're here to think about why perenniality and diversity matter for agricultural research. Why do people need diverse perennial agroecosystems? What are the impacts of remembering them and making them anew? One answer begins with something we usually don't see: roots. Roots are the below-ground parts of plants that take up water and nutrients and interact with microbes. You might be familiar with our co-founder Wes Jackson's 1980 book, New Roots for Agriculture, in which he makes the case for producing food through perennial polycultures. He argues, quote, "It is the human agricultural system which must grow more toward the way of nature rather than the other way around." How? It might start with perennials' roots that hold soil. Here at the Land Institute, we've tried to make such elaborate roots visible with this banner. Last week, we saw intermediate wheatgrass in the research plot. The kernza perennial grain the intermediate wheatgrass produces above ground each summer could be important for feeding people. And now, I hope you might also come to sense how what happens below ground could be important for feeding people for multiple years, for a long time. Left undisturbed, these roots help retain and build soil and the soil microbial community. This intermediate wheatgrass plant is about 1.5 years old. It is true to life size, not exaggerated. Let yourself experience that scale. It's a little humbling to stand next to, in the sense that it brings us humans back down to earth. This plant was grown to be photographed, which explains some of the shape. Root depth and dimensions vary based on how plants interact with particular places, and of course they vary based on the type of plant. Prairie plants that are not grasses, such as legumes and sunflowers, tend to have fewer but much thicker taproots that can often access water from really deep in the soil. Still, we can sense how robust and vigorous the fine root system of intermediate wheatgrass is, especially in comparison to the other plant roots pictured. Those are the roots of annual traditional wheat. Wheat feeds so many people, including me and my family, but wheat's shallow roots that live for only one growing season don't do what perennial roots can do by living for multiple seasons, namely reduce soil erosion, increase nitrogen retention, achieve greater water uptake efficiency, and enhance carbon sequestration. Perennial grain crops grown in high biodiversity might bring us closer to reproducing the positive functions of native ecosystems. Increasing perenniality and diversity in agricultural landscapes requires increasing research and development and ongoing persistence and resilience. These stairs lead to the research building basement, home of the Land Institute's seed vault. Now though, I'm gonna walk up these stairs and around the corner. The banner uses a black background to better showcase the roots. Not pictured is the surrounding soil. So for our practice today, let's follow the roots into the soil. Here in front of the labs, we have sets of soil cores. These are scientific illustrations that also stand as works of art. Careful, skilled technique was required to preserve them for display. Just like plants, soils have names. The dominant soil series at the Land Institute is McCook Silt Loam. Do you know your soil type? Thanks to our wonderful legumes research technician, Spencer, that's one of the questions we ask people interested in collaborating with the Land Institute to grow perennial crop candidates in our civic science projects. If you don't know your soil type, the first step of your practice today is to learn the name of the soil where you are. Phone a friend, search the internet, or check out the University of California, Davis's Soil Resource Lab, which offers a soil web app to help people access detailed soil survey data across most of the United States. You can zoom in to the location of your home, field, or garden. We'll put a link to that online resource in the caption for this video. For example, the main soil type of the land where my parents grow wheat is Harney Silt Loam, formed under the prairie grasslands. In fact, Harney Silt Loam is the state soil of Kansas. The second part of today's practice is an invitation to metaphorically follow your roots into the soil. Trace back to your childhood memories. Maybe, like me, you spent some time playing in the dirt and climbing up trees, even if you didn't learn the name of that soil type until you were an adult. Trace back to your ancestors. Maybe, like me, that requires you to retrace steps across continents. What might your following your roots reveal to you about your deeper purpose? I've learned how roots help hold me to earth. The Land Institute's roots show how we as an organization have come to focus on developing perennial grain crops to grow in diverse agroecosystems through scientific understanding of plants and soil ecology and through human feeling of courage and reconnection. I'd love to hear from you and read some of the soil names from your places in the comments. Thanks again for participating, and I'll see you next week with an episode from my kitchen.